Hi everyone, it's Belinda and Jim, and we wanted to come on and wish you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving. But also we were talking about how long it's been since we have provided an update and the format in which we wanted to do that, seeing as how there's just so much information and it might be too much for an email. So we thought we'd give the video format a try.
So it's a first for us, and we have three primary objectives. First, to say thank you and let you know how grateful we are for all the support from people in Ontario and across Canada who have reached out with their support, who've donated in 2020 towards our efforts, and to say thank you. Second, at the end of the video, we have a statement from Belinda at Queen's Park on the importance of family. So tune in for that. It's very informative, and I think you'll really appreciate it. And also, we have some exciting news. We've heard from people across Ontario who are very disillusioned with the establishment parties, who feel that Doug Ford's betrayed them. And we've been asked for a solution, and we can tell you help is on the way, so stay tuned till the end of the video. We have a special announcement, help is on the way. But we also wanted to provide you with an update, because there's so much to talk about, and we don't even know where to begin.
Okay, so why don't we start with you, because May was the last time you sent an email, so why don't you tell us what's happened since then?
Right. So I was running for federal Conservative Party leader.
Right.
Not to be confused with you being an MPP in the Ontario legislature provincially.
Correct.
Mind you, the Ontario PC Party and the federal Conservative Party are pretty much run by the same backroom boys in the back. They're our friends. It's a cabal. They call themselves this fake family.
Yeah.
So I was running for federal Conservative Party leader. I was running to win. I was in third place in terms of raising money and support in polling numbers. And our trajectory was very strong. It was like a straight up line. We were doubling support every week. And a couple of days before the cutoff to get on the ballot, we had hit the $300,000. And we first got assessed a $100,000 fine. So my buy-in turned from $300,000 to $400,000.
Yeah.
And then we were kicked out of the race from a small committee called the Dispute Resolution Appeals Committee that was run by Senator Don Plett. So they kicked us out of the race, saying that an email I sent was Islamophobia. Meanwhile, Senator Don Plett, on the phone with a supporter, told them it had nothing to do with the email. There were other reasons why they didn't like me in the race, even though they let me run.
Right.
So they kicked me out of the race. They threatened to hold the donor money, and we had accumulated campaign expenses of over $100,000 up until that point, inching towards $200,000, I think. And they were not going to transfer the donor money. Originally said they were going to keep it, and then on the day of the trial in May, they told the judge they wanted to refund the money to the donors. And they weren't going to let me continue to raise money through the party where people could get a tax credit.
So, so they're holding that. They wanted to hold the money back. So how are you going to pay for your campaign expenses?
Right. So under election law, we couldn't pay our campaign expenses from one or two donors, or even if we had the money out of our own pocket, because you've got to pay all campaign expenses from donations. So it's a very vindictive move from Lisa Ray, Derek Vanstone, Dan Nolan, Don Plett, who ran the leadership committee. Not only did they want to kick me out of the race, they wanted to hold the money back, forcing me to go back to donors to raise money again in the middle of a leadership race where the other four candidates were asking for donations. And I didn't have the list that the party was providing the other four candidates when they hit 150,000.
Right.
Despite the fact we didn't have the list, we hit 300,000 third. We were the only of the, well, actually, Peter MacKay was the only other candidate to hit 300,000 without the party list. And they wanted to hold the donations. So we went to court. We fought to get back on the ballot and for them to comply with the rules. We fought in court for 2 months. And in May, we won. And the judge said we had 14 days to pay the $100,000 fine, which was beyond the judge's power to review. And we could get back on the ballot. And the thing that I haven't reported on was we were at 390,000. So we were $10,000 away from hitting that 400,000. We had 2 weeks, which is exactly why Don Plett reconvened a meeting of the leadership committee the next day, and they disqualified me a second time.
Yeah.
And since that, since then, for the rest of the race, Erin O'Toole's team had told people that reinforced back to me that that was their only way to stop me in the leadership race. And at that point in May, we had no choice. We couldn't keep fighting in court. Our expenses would have amounted to $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 with legal fees.
Mhm.
And there was no other avenue. The membership cutoff had passed, and it was time to, the writing was on the wall. So the judge said, 20 days, you get your donor money from the party. So 20 days later in June, we waited. The party transferred less than 50%, because on top of the second DQ, they also disqualified me twice. They also fined me 50 grand. Yeah. And they applied a $100,000 deposit, and they wanted to keep that money. We were going to go back to court to get the judge to clarify. Instead, we negotiated for, I don't remember, 2-3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so by the end of June, I think it was, maybe beginning of July, they finally transferred the remaining 150 grand. But I had to agree that I wouldn't criticize them for the rest of the race.
Of course.
Right, because the people running the Ontario PC Party and the Conservative Party of Canada in the back, they can do whatever they want. They can apply the rules whichever way they want. But if you criticize them, they're very thin-skinned, fragile egos, these people. They can't handle the criticism.
It's interesting, too, because no one else was criticizing Erin O'Toole. Like, the other three in the race weren't criticizing him.
Peter MacKay and Erin were criticizing each other. Leslyn was focusing on criticizing Peter MacKay. Yes. Derek was focused on criticizing Leslyn. Yeah. But you and I both know from our backroom relationships and the people we've known for 16 years, we got a call, I got a call sometime in March from a lobbyist, and I had another conversation with him on March 9th, and was told that the race was designed because the party brass wanted Erin O'Toole. Right. And I had to agree to support Erin O'Toole to get on the ballot. And when I didn't take up the offer to set up a call with his business partner, people that we've known, they removed me from the ballot. I thought that they were bluffing when they told me that. I thought that they were just trying to put a pressure point on our campaign to take control, but they weren't bluffing. That race was designed for Erin O'Toole, which is why people went out to recruit Leslyn and Derek to run, to drive the down ballot support to Erin. And so, we sat back. After we got the money at the end of June, beginning of July, sat back and watched the race and watched. The writing was on the wall. Yeah. It was unfortunate to watch so many people donate millions of dollars during COVID to these four candidates when the race was designed for Erin O'Toole from the start.
Yeah, coronation.
It was a rhetoric coronation for Erin O'Toole. There's no difference between Erin O'Toole and Peter MacKay on policy. The only difference being Peter MacKay is made blunders in the media that could be used against him in a campaign, which Erin and Derek and Leslyn used against him. But in terms of policy, Erin's the same. And anything that he says in the media that's criticism against him in a race was not allowed in that race. And look, I had to watch Erin O'Toole. He did a couple interviews after my second disqualification where he showed, he's a sore winner. He got his way while he got their way. They both got their way. They got me out of the race. They cleared the path for them to win. And he couldn't help himself. In a couple of times he was asked in interviews about me and having me disqualified from the race. And he couldn't help himself. He had no class, no dignity.
You could see it.
Just a sore winner, right? And he had to attack me. But I'm flattered that the leader of the opposition couldn't find another way to beat me in a race other than to disqualify me twice. Because Erin O'Toole's also not very good at campaigns. He became the candidate back when he ran the first time in a by-election for the party in a nomination where he was acclaimed. Yes. And he got acclaimed because one guy was disqualified and another candidate, they set up the nomination meeting on the day of the second candidate's wedding. So he dropped out. Yeah. So Erin was acclaimed. When he ran for leader in 2017, he got 10%, finished fourth. He barely beat Brad Trost, who I think was in fifth. And then in this race, he couldn't win unless he had me removed and he had the down ballot support from Derek and Leslyn. So he needed two people in the race to put him over the top, and he needed to remove me, and he needed to be protected for the entire leadership without any criticism. So he's terrible at campaigning. And he's born into politics. His dad was an MPP, and I don't really see much hope in terms of, going forward under his leadership for the Conservative Party of Canada. But that took us to July. We didn't have
Right.
much rest.
No.
And then before you know it, what happened to you in July?
So July, the Doug Ford government tabled Bill 195, this draconian bill that allows the Premier and his ministers to have powers to impose new restrictions on the people of Ontario without any type of debate or discussion in the Ontario legislature. Now, prior to the bill, the legislature would just reconvene and discuss and debate and vote. And, you know, the NDP and Liberals always voted for these new restrictions. So there was never any issues getting things passed. But apparently that wasn't good enough. There was no time to debate. So the Premier thought that this was a good idea to put through this bill. I was against this bill. I voted against this bill. And for that, I was promptly kicked out of the PC Party Caucus. And then a couple days later, our Cambridge PC Writing Association president, who is a volunteer, received a threatening phone call from a PC Party staffer. And then our board, who has shown tremendous support, the PC executive had a meeting and decided that they were going to, without cause, get rid of all 19 volunteers from our Cambridge PC Writing Association. So,
and I sat on that board with you on your Cambridge PC board.
That's right.
So you had almost all of them supported you.
yes,
And they kicked everyone off the board.
Right.
They took over the board and
They
took
took-
back control.
Yep.
So did they make it very clear to you whether you'd be able to run for the Ontario PC Party in the next election?
it was very clear that they were not going to allow me to run under the PC Party banner for the next election. So
Right.
there's no path back, even though that was reported. There's no path back.
So they told the media maybe she can come back, but
Yeah.
the staff told your party, your riding association,
Yes.
there's no path back. And when they wipe out a board and they take over, that means there's no path back.
Exactly. So, and it's odd because we saw that, you know, with Randy Hillier, he also is no longer part of the PC Caucus, but he still sits on his writing association board, and his board is still intact.
Right.
So it was very targeted against me.
Yeah.
But I guess we really shouldn't be surprised.
So can't you run in a nomination in the PC riding of Cambridge? Like, isn't the Ontario PC Party going to have nominations for their candidates?
So you bring up two things with that question, actually. So the first one is the executive, which is run by Brian Patterson, who was elected at the 2018 PC convention.
Fraudulently
It was
elected in a
that's why
rigged vote.
I used
right?
air quotes because it was a fraudulent election. So he decided that it would be a great idea to impose a code of conduct on the grassroots members of the PC Party. And so what this is, there was no vote by members to impose this code of conduct. Most members you speak to don't even know it exists.
Right.
But it was being discussed back in November of last year. And I spoke out against that. And it was imposed recently. I remember exactly when. It was during the summer, during all of this, you know, the distraction of COVID-19 and all the restrictions. And so this code of conduct allows Brian Patterson and his executive, which is run primarily by lobbyists, to not allow people to run, to remove people from the party, whether it's temporarily or permanently, just by whatever means.
So how is the Ontario PC Party executive picking their candidates for the next election now?
So they have just did a big social media campaign, I suppose. All 72 sitting MPPs who are with the PC Party have been, they called it acclaimed online, but there was no meetings, no nomination meetings, no emails went out. These are appointments. There were 72 appointments. And I believe it was reported in the Star that Brian Patterson is going to appoint the remaining.
So there's no nominations,
No
in the
nominations.
Ontario PC Party to run next election.
Correct.
They've told you can't run, so
Yeah.
you're out.
I'm out.
There's no way back.
Correct.
So you've been an independent MPP for how long now?
Since July the 22nd, July 22nd, I am sitting as an independent member of provincial parliament for the riding of Cambridge. It is very enjoyable. I get more time in the House to ask questions, to make member statements, to speak to bills.
How many questions have you been able to ask the government?
I have already asked 3 questions, which is almost as much as I asked in 2 years of the PC
Right.
Party.
Right.
I get about a question a week. Some weeks I get 2. I get a statement every couple of weeks. And it's really good to be free. I'm able to hold this government to account on behalf of the constituents of Cambridge, but also I'm able to be that voice for other Ontarians who feel like their MPPs aren't necessarily speaking for them on these issues.
So there's a week break at Queen's Park after Thanksgiving,
Correct.
and then you're back in the week after?
Yes, so the constituency breaks, and I don't like to use the word break because we're still working at that time, but we're not sitting in the legislature, so we do get the week during Thanksgiving, and then we're back for another 4 weeks.
So there's a week off of Queen's Park after Thanksgiving,
Correct.
and then you're back at Queen's Park in the Ontario legislature the week after that. How many questions are you getting that first week back?
2 questions that first week back and a statement.
Wow.
Yes.
In the last 3 or 4 weeks in the Ontario legislature that you've sat as an independent, what kind of questions have you been asking the Ford government?
So my first question was about objective criteria that the government is using for their restrictions. Have they developed any? What are they using? I got a non-answer from the Solicitor General. My next question was about why 2 carbon taxes are better than 1. The Doug Ford government said they were going to get rid of the carbon tax, and now we have 2. We have 2 carbon taxes in Ontario. And I brought that to light. Again, another non-answer. I asked about injection sites. That is an issue that is very big in the riding of Cambridge. That was something that we campaigned on in the PC.
So you're
Party.
against an injection
I'm
site
against an injection site in Cambridge, as are vast majority.
And Doug Ford's government.
They flip-flopped on that. They said they weren't for them, and now they're approving 21 across the province. And so I asked about that, and Christine Elliott said that she believes that they work, and there's science behind it. I can't get that science, but they're in support of injection sites.
So you're doing a great job, and you're getting a lot of support in your own riding and across Ontario and across Canada.
Thank you.
Holding the Doug Ford. What did you call them on the radio?
I call it the Doug Ford Liberal government.
Yeah, and they really are a Liberal government.
Yeah, they are.
And it's a corrupt party. There's no elections. There's no nominations. At conventions, they elect a party president through stuffing ballots. And there's no way to break through on the inside. A lot of people on social media have been saying, well, we just need a leadership review to get rid of Doug Ford. Do you think there's any hope to fix the party from the inside? No,
and that's the thing. So, people keep saying if we had a different leader that it would be different. But the party is so far gone and so corrupt that it doesn't matter who the leader is. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not going to change.
Right. So now we're in a world in conservative politics in Ontario and at the federal level where they disqualify candidates from races. They block candidates from running in leaderships. That used to be what they did in nominations. Now they're doing in leaderships. They're holding on to the executive. The backroom boys are controlling the executive by rigging conventions like they did in 2018 on the PC side. So you don't see, even in a leadership race in the Ontario PC party, changing.
No.
Because Brian Patterson, he's friends with Lisa Raitt, he's friends with Derek Vanstone, Dan Nolan, they're all part of the same cabal. They call themselves a fake family. He'll just design that leadership to get some kind of red Tory politician to be elected, just like they did for Erin O'Toole federally.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the same group of people running both parties, and it's not going to change, unfortunately.
So a lot of people have been messaging us saying we need an option. We need something to be done because the establishment parties don't represent us in Ontario. And as you said, Doug Ford's a Liberal. The Ontario PC party is beyond redemption. So should we let everyone know what's happened?
I think so. I think, during Thanksgiving especially, to give some more hope.
Right.
Yes.
So on Friday, right before the Thanksgiving weekend, at the end of day, Elections Ontario sent us formal documentation, and they approved the name of a new political party, the New Blue Party of Ontario. And we've now received the okay to use that name for a political party. And we'll either have to collect 1,000 signatures from people across Ontario who are eligible to vote in a general election and submit that to Elections Ontario to get approved. There's also a possibility that we can work with some other smaller parties in Ontario that already exist and see if there would be a merger of some sorts to speed up the process. And that's help is on the way. So people have reached out to us, said, you can't stop. You got to run again, Belinda. You guys need to together not give up. And so that's the solution, creating a new party in Ontario, because the Ontario PC party, there's no democracy inside of it to fix things up, like Belinda said, and it doesn't matter who the leader is. We've been through this, working it on the inside. I think it's safe to say we've worked it from the inside quite a bit more than others have. Axe the carbon tax, take back our PC party. They sued us in 2017 when Patrick Brown and Waleed were running that party. to shut down the members who signed the petition to call a convention and oppose Patrick Brown's carbon tax and those rigged nominations. And then we went to a PC convention 2018 where they rigged that vote, stuffed the ballots for Brian Patterson.
That's right.
He's in control of the PC executive now.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've kicked you out of caucus for voting against the bill. It was the first time you voted against the bill.
First time, because all the other votes were whipped except for the people ban. Even though, again, another campaign promise that the only vote that would be whipped would be the budget bill.
Right.
So we saw another flip-flop there.
And they wiped out your party, your riding association board.
That, yeah.
And there's no way for you to run a PC nomination.
Correct.
So there's really no other option
No.
for, not only for us, but for voters in Ontario who believe in grassroots democracy,
Mm-hmm.
who believe that the parties should not all be agreeing with each other on every major policy,
Mm-hmm.
and who want to deliver a platform of defending the taxpayer, not destroying small businesses, protecting places of worship.
Yes.
And so we've got no other option to help but to start a new party. So it's the New Blue Party of Ontario for us moving forward.
It's very exciting.
And the first goal would be to help you get reelected. And Randy Hillier, whether he runs as independent or maybe when he closes the loop there with the Ontario PC Party sitting on their riding board, it'd be great to have him run under the party banner. And then hopefully we can build out some riding associations and see who else out there wants to get involved in a new political party in Ontario.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's very exciting.
Well, we've been put on a path, not from our own choice. Would have liked to have fixed the Ontario PC Party from the inside, but that's the path we got. So,
yeah.
And so that's the message in terms of help is on the way.
I think really just to close up the video, just how grateful we are for all of the support that we received. And everything that we've been through politically really is...
Yeah, it's been a tumultuous 5 years
Yeah.
from getting sued by a political party and winning. But these are the struggles that you have to endure in modern Canadian politics because the parties are controlled in the back by a group of people. And if you're a threat to them, doesn't matter if you've known them for 16 years and you volunteered, if you're a threat, they come after you.
Yeah.
But there's others that are struggling a lot more.
Yeah.
With real struggles this Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, there are people who are dealing with job loss or job instability, with health challenges, health issues, whether we know them personally or have heard about them from other individuals. Please know that you are in our thoughts and in our prayers, and we hope that things get better for all of you soon and that you're able to enjoy this Thanksgiving, even though it will be a little different from years past.
And we'll be providing you with more updates as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
The member for Cambridge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Mr. Speaker, there's a ruling class in this country, and they are all quote-unquote family. No, that's not a quote from the 1800s when Upper Canada was ruled by a small group of men known as the Family Compact. That's a quote said on March 9th by a lobbyist from Crestview Strategy to Cambridge resident Jim Karahalios, informing Jim that he had to support Erin O'Toole to remain in the Conservative Party of Leadership race. Party brass preferred this candidate. After my family didn't take the deal, Jim was removed from the race twice. But stealing an election wasn't enough for Mr. Rogers, O'Toole, Senator Don Plett, Lisa Raitt, Don Nolan, and Derek Vanstone. We needed a court victory to repay campaign debts. A few weeks later, 19 volunteers on the local PC Riding Association were expelled without cause by a fellow member of the supposed ruling Conservative family, Brian Patterson. Mr. Speaker, I don't serve this made-up ruling Conservative family. I already have a family, and I serve my constituents. Mr. Speaker, I am grateful for the support of my family and from Canadians across the country, and would like to specifically say thank you to the support of the 19 people expelled from the Cambridge PC Board who chose to stand up for democratic principles rather than trying to gain the acceptance of some made-up ruling Conservative family. Thank you.